apologise, Senator. Could you repeat the question?
This relates to the incident that involved 3 Papuan students who scaled the Australian consulate in Bali on the 4th of October, I understand. What time did the students enter the consulate and how did they enter?
It was very early in the morning, Senator. I think it was between about 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And they climbed the wall.
Who discovered them?
They were discovered by one of the Consulate General Security Guards.
What were their requests of the consulate?
They requested that I believe it was a letter, be passed to either the ambassador or the Prime Minister.
Did they indicate any desire or intention to remain within the consulate?
My understanding, Senator, is that they asked that the letter be passed to the ambassador or the Prime Minister.
But did they express any desire or intention to remain within the consulate?
Not to my knowledge, Senator.
Not to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Is that something you need to take on notice, or are you certain of that?
If that's not correct, Senator, we'll correct the record.
Okay. Did they ask for protection?
Alistair Cox, First Assistant Secretary, South East Asia Division. I believe that in the letter they sought to draw attention to the situation in the Papuan provinces, and in the context they asked that that letter be conveyed to the Prime Minister and to the Ambassador, as Mr Smith said.
In the discussion with consular officials, did the consular officers seek any guidance from officials outside of the consulate at any time on how to handle this incident?
Yes, the Consul General did communicate with Canberra.
Who did they consult with?
I think with Mr Smith?
I had a call, Senator, from the Consul General, and the Consul General was also in contact with the Ambassador who was in Bali at the time.
And Mr Smith, did you consult with anyone at the time?
No, Senator. I did advise a number of my colleagues about the incident that was taking place.
So let me be clear. So the consular officers in Bali requested advice from you, Mr Smith, and who was the second person that you mentioned there, sorry?
The Consul General who was called to the scene when the incident occurred, rang me in my capacity as the official responsible for diplomatic security. That part of the department falls within my division. He was also in contact with Ambassador Moriarty, who was in Bali at the time because of the meetings that were taking place, and he would have been talking to Ambassador Moriarty about the issues in the Broad.
So to both yourself and Ambassador Moriarty?
That's correct. He may have had other conversations as well, Senator. I'm not aware of those.
And you didn't have any conversations with any government officials at the time in response to this issue?
Well, once we were advised of the incident, there were a number of discussions that took place in Canberra.
Okay, so you did consult. Who did you consult with, Mr Smith? From
recollection, Senator, I spoke to my colleague in the South East Asia Division, who was acting in Mr Cox's position at the time.
And you said a number of conversations, and I asked you whether, in fact, any government, well, let me ask more directly, was the Foreign Minister consulted about this?
I'm not sure, Senator, whether at that point the Foreign Minister was consulted.
Are you able to take that on notice?
We can check that, Senator, yes.
And are you aware of who Mr Moriarty consulted with?
Mr Moriarty, I think at the time, was in contact with the visiting delegation that was here, that was in Bali at the time.
What instructions were given to the consulate consular officers, the Consulate General?
I'm not sure that there were any specific instructions given to him, Senator.
You're not sure that there are any specific instructions?
Senator, if I can help here, heads of mission and heads of post know that there is a process or an approach that we employ in these circumstances, and the Consul General would have been following that process. There is a question just in my mind, and I don't want to be pedantic here, but the difference between consultation and informing people. Mr. Smith would have informed several people, but not necessarily consulted them about action to be taken.
Yes, no, I'm aware of that. That line is sometimes a difficult one. Just in terms of the specific action that was taken, were the students told at any time that they would be handed over to the Indonesian authorities or to the police if they didn't leave the consulate?
No, Senator.
No?
No.
No.
I suppose that differs with the reports, two separate reports, one from the students themselves who said explicitly that they were told that they couldn't stay and that they'd have to leave, and if they didn't, the police would be called. And it also differs with an account from somebody who listened into part of that conversation, which was apparently recorded or was apparently broadcast by phone, where an Australian voice was heard to be shouting at the men and told that the police would be informed.
Senator, there's, as I said before, there's an approach that's taken by heads of mission and heads of post for people who are in the premises when they shouldn't be, and that includes telling them that if they don't leave, the police will be called. That's not the same as being told that you'll be handed over to the police.
Okay, so let's just, sounds like pedantic, fairly semantic argument, but let's just tease that out. Explain that process to me.
If we have an intruder in a premises, and either the head of mission or the head of post talks to that intruder, one of the approaches we take is to tell them that if they don't leave the premises when they're asked to leave, we'll be calling the police.
And how do you determine whether someone's an intruder or whether someone's after help?
Well, an intruder is someone there without permission. Our posts and embassies overseas are not a place of automatic sanctuary, Senator. It would be impossible for us to operate if that was the case.
Okay, so what would happen? So do I understand from that conversation that these men would have been told, according to the process that you've outlined, that the police would have been called if they didn't leave the embassy? The consulate.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, all right. So that's good. It's progress. Given the situation in West Papua, and given the likelihood that because of the actions that these three men take, and we've got a history of accommodating West Papuan refugees in this country because of the consequences of people taking political action, did the consulate not at any time think that those actions may have threatened the life of these three people? They put their lives in danger?
Well, Senator, the Consul General suggested that if the men were to leave and contact him again by phone, that he would be happy to see them.
No, but look, you've just told me that they were told that if they didn't leave, that the police would be called.
Yes.
Right. So, at what point does the consulate start to consider what consequences that might have on these three individuals?
Oh, that's a judgment for the head of post.
Well, I'm putting to you that Australia has a record of taking in people who have expressed political viewpoints in West Papua, because we understand that to do so may in fact put their lives in danger. Why isn't that consistent with the actions of the consulate in Bali?
because I don't think that scaling a wall and sitting on the ground in one of our premises is the way we've taken individuals in the past.
But your actions in saying that the police would be called if they didn't leave would put those three lives, the lives of those three men in danger.
I beg your pardon?
But surely threatening to call the police puts the lives of those three individuals in real danger.
Well, that's the judgment for the head of post, which I support.
Well, I'm putting a judgment to you that your actions put the lives of those three men at risk.
Well, I don't accept that, Senator.
But have we not already determined that people who speak out on issues relating to the sovereignty, human rights abuses, etc., of West Papua are in fact deemed to be genuine refugees because the consequences that flow from those actions mean that they are at risk of persecution?
Well, refugee determination is made on a case-by-case basis, not by me, Senator, and not by people scaling walls into our premises.
By encouraging them to leave voluntarily before the police were called, the police were not involved in engagement with them at all, Senator.
Well, they didn't leave voluntarily and then threats were made to call the police.
Well, they were encouraged to leave voluntarily.
And they didn't, and you then advised that you would call the police.
Well, the police were not engaged with them at all, Senator.
No, but the threat was made, and that threat carries with it some very real consequences to those three people.
But I think the officers explained to you, Senator Di Natale, that even if all of that be true, in fact, it was not consequential. It was not productive of the consequences that you are asserting because the police weren't engaged.
Okay, so if I go home today and decide to drink a dozen stubbies and manage to make my way home, that's of no consequence to anybody. Is that okay, Senator Brandis?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm struggling to see the relevance of your counterfactual.
I think the problem lies with you, Senator Brandis. What report was made back to the Minister, the Ambassador or the Department in the wake of this incident?
Well, the matter was advised to the Minister after it had happened, Senator.
Sorry?
The Minister was in Bali at the time and the Minister was told of the matter.
Look, I think I might leave it there. Thank you.